Hey everybody, it's RighteousFreed. Back again today with another hero build guide. It's been a while. I'm going to start making a few more. This time we have Kaguya. If you watch me play, you've seen I love my Kaguya. She is a hyper carry. She has won me many games. She is amazing. I feel she is the best mage out currently. When Awakener comes out, she will unfortunately be number 2, but it is not by that far of a margin. Kaguya is extremely flexible in her playstyle, able to do both single target and AoE abilities. She is able to consistently keep all of her abilities off cooldown, constantly pouring out damage every turn. And we're going to go over that and show you how to play her right. Without further ado, her talent, Ace Trick. I'm going to be reading this from the perspective of 6-star only. I'm not going to get into the lower stars because you should not play her lower than 5-star. But at 6-star, when she's within 3 blocks of an ally, she gains 20% int. Absolutely amazing. She will get damage increase from her 1C act again, which we'll go over soon. At the start of the turn, though, she spawns 4 cards of boar, deer, and butterfly randomly. These little dudes right here. Within a 2-ring span of herself. A little bit of RNG here. We're hoping that her casting talent, a lot of us, when it finally gets announced, is either going to let you pick up cards within 1 ring of when either she or an ally ends turn, or that the cards spawn within 1 ring of her. That would be very nice. But until then, we're just going off of this. She can hold up to 3 of each card. The buff you gain when landing on the card is the exact same as Tenyo's headdress, except no movement buff. So you can get the heal, you can get protection from being heal blocked or silenced randomly, you can get generic attack and defense buffs, etc. This is her bread and butter. This is how she keeps her skills up. She's a Yu-Gi-Oh player, so constantly just keeps those cards at the ready, keeps her cooldowns up. Every turn she just gets more advantage. Now, before we get into all of that, quickly, standard stones, HP, int, and defense for the regular, and then arena, HP, int, defense, and the 2 crit down stones. Just very standard, nothing special out of the ordinary with her. You want to make her holy class, though. This is because you'll be able to survive assassins while she's in holy class, which we'll get to down the line. But holy class has higher HP but lower int, but that won't mean too much with all the power she has. Her classes, Princess, Strategic, and Myth, pairs very, very well Christiane and Lightbringer. Lightbringer, okay, not a faction buff, but she gives her buffs every turn. You want to play Kaguya in tank push? Christiane and Lightbringer are the 2 best tanks for her because they buff her. Christiane, you can give her up to 18% damage if there's 6 total females on the field or more. Lightbringer is just generic, just basically, mass attack, except she gives magic defense as well. She does also give 10% defense and 20% less chance of being critically hit, so can make her survive assassins even more. Grenshiel, her buff is, as long as you aren't facing somebody like Leon or Grenshiel, anybody with higher movement than Kaguya, she gains 15% damage. So Grenshiel is top tier buffer for her. Because if you ever get a lucky buff onto Kaguya for even more movement, then nobody stands in her way. But like you're going up against Lost Tam, you're going up against an untransformed Gintoki, you're going up just against a tank who 9 times out of 10 will never have a movement buff, you're going to be dealing tons of damage. Alternate users, we have Lanford. Ace Tactics is actually really good for her when she has a DPS unit because she's going to be holy. She doesn't have any offensive holy troops, so that would be good, but Lanford himself is pretty bad, so I don't recommend playing him. Altamuller actually can give Kaguya even more range when you're on a terrain that does give defense, 15% damage in battle. Really nice, so you can go onto mountains and forts uninhibited, even just a forest. Boom, smack them, get out, nothing to worry about. Sage of the Trees, surprisingly, is pretty decent. It's only 12% for range damage, but that's all she's going to be doing for attack. Sage might be a counter pick, though. Just, you're in playoffs, you know what you're going to be playing against, and you know that he'll be good. Like, if you know that a bunch of rush units with a lot of Terrain Master or Cav movements, you might want to put him in there with that faction buff as well, and hopefully spam his 3C to keep everybody away. But you want to stick to Christiane or Lightbringer as the main buffers, because you're going to want that tank to protect you. Moving on, we have Ultimate Throw. Every time you collect a card, Ultimate Throw gets 6% chance increase hit rate. Critical hit rate. Really good. Just making her attacks do even more damage than normal. When you attack an enemy, you inflict 2 undispellable debuffs for 1 turn. Cannot be healed, cannot receive debuffs, stunned, silence, and mobility -5. Absolutely amazing, amazing buffs. You might not see stunned on Lightbringer or some other tanks because they are prepared for Lost Ham and the random Cherie and Polly right now. So you might not see that go on the tanks, but getting a mobility -5 so they can't guard, that'll be just as good for other units to follow up. Cannot be healed, great as well, cannot receive buffs. Silence. The fact that they can't be dispelled is their key point. 1.7 damage, very strong. After battle, you get damage taken -20%, and then you can move 3 blocks back. So you get in, attack, get out, go back into safety. No one can touch you. And if an assassin somehow slips through, you have a greater chance of surviving. Now we move on to her 1C. This is the key to making Kaguya work. Every single thing about her relies on her 1C here. Hidden card. So, the second one, sleeved card, is the most important one. You consume 1 boar, deer, and butterfly card. You gain damage dealt plus 20%. And your equipment resonance, the clock or breeze enchant, for example, the activation rate is 100%. So, you will run Kaguya with clock. You activate this, get damaged up, you get +2 range as well whenever you activate any of these abilities. Go in, use your ability, it clocks, so it's always up. Absolutely amazing. We do have Tanzaku. You just consume a set, meaning 2 of each of the 2 cards. So either 2 boar or 2 deer or butterfly, and it goes down in that order. And then after you deal damage, you randomly gain 1 of those cards back. This can be great if you get like a bad spawn, like you just have tons of boar cards, for example, a butterfly but no deer. You can randomly get that deer back, and that way next turn you'll be able to spam again with something different. You could just go in with a basic attack, for example, that way you don't use a skill. Then our third one, a Hikari. You consume 3 of either boar, deer, or butterfly in that order. And you gain a command effect for 2 turns where equipment resonance, the activation rate for everybody, goes up by 20%. So, clock gets 50% chance, breeze gets 50% chance, thorns gains. Let's see, I'm looking at it on a different screen. Where is thorns? I don't think Mafrega's up here. Let's see. Thorns has 50% chance as well. So really good on there. Now you really only want to stick to Tan or Tane. I'll just call it Tane. I don't know the exact pronunciation, because this just allows you to keep your skills up, constantly going in either 3C'ing or using one of her other abilities that I'm going to get into in the next page. Just bam, 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 smack, smack, smack. And it gives you an act again. When you activate it, you can then move equal to the remaining movement you had before activating it. So you can move on to a card, activate this, get the card, attack, move with ultimate throw, move back to a different card and get that card. Or if you use an AoE or another skill, just stay there and gain a second copy. That way you're constantly keeping your supply up. As I said before, the cards or buffs get consumed in boar, deer, and butterfly order. Now this is an act again as well. You do need to be careful. Some people have decided to play Lucia. She has a 3 range, no act again aura. So if you're too close to her because it gets to end game, this can be very, very annoying. So you got to watch out for that. The other units that stop act agains, like a Z2 and her AoE, that'll stop you from act againing, which can really foil your plans. So watch out for that. And last but not least, you gain unit range +2 when using any of these abilities. Bread and Butter gives her 5 range with Scepter of Divinity, throw out a throw out an AoE, just bash people really hard. She'll wear everybody down slowly but surely. Other abilities she can take besides those two: Jade-Told Algorithm, 1.5 damage, but you restore HP equal to 50% of the damage dealt. Your critical hit rate goes up by 50%. That's super strong. Really depends on who you're going to be playing against. There's not too many times you'd want to take this, but you never know in the future. Constantly keeping your health up. If you know you're going to be in range and going to take counter damage, this can get you back to full. That's awesome. Fireball, extra damage to infantry, good for Gintoki. Cleanse, if they have multiple tanks and you want to bust off that guard. No one cares about this shield skill. Getting down to the AoEs. Arcane Blast, this was originally only on Rachel. This is absolutely amazing for getting through enemy holy and mage comps. Deals additional damage to mages and holy units, reduces their magic defense by 30% for 2 turns. A 0.36 AoE, so really strong, just like Black Hole. Only slightly stronger than Heaven Sanction, but Heaven Sanction does have huge critical hit rate. And if they're demons, which, well, the other demons ignore class who are playable, Don't have to worry about that. Arcane Blast is great. You know you're going up against another tank push team. They have tons of mages and holy units. This will start wiping them out, set you up for your other units to follow up with an AoE. It's a great finisher. It's all around great skill. Black Hole, pretty standard. 2 random debuffs, 0.36 AoE. Heaven Sanction, we just went over. Super high crit rate. This is a AoE span, but with using your hidden card, you can make it move 2 blocks away from you. That way you can cast it a little bit farther. You might only really want to take this if there's an Epsilon and you think he's going to take the hide skill. A lot of them won't do that because they think you're going to do that, so it's kind of a who can counter who situation. All in all, unless you know you're going to be playing against a bunch of mages or holy, sticking with Black Hole, oftentimes the better choice because you can get those random debuffs like Silence and Heal Block. So, take Black Hole most of the time. If you know you're going against mages and holy, take Arcane Blast. And Heaven Sanction, would only do that if you know they're just going to spread out a lot. If there's units that you have to take off of full health to stop a bunch of thresholds, that would be the only reason I take that. Her soldier choices. So Fairy Spirit Prophet, going to be your bread and butter, your best DPS. Deals magic damage, soldier attack up by 30%, and the damage dealt by soldiers up by 15%. So that really helps. They don't have the raw attack as Sorceress, but I like these better because you don't have to be at 100%. I will not play Sorceress anymore in this day and age with the amount of chip damage there is. Easily one shot with a single target for just about any unit unless they have angels and tons of magic damage reduction. Which brings us to Firebrand. They gain 30% attack and they deal 15% fixed damage afterwards. If you know they're going to go angels, you know they're going to go something like Royal Princess Guard with tons of magic damage reduction. These men are the go-to soldiers. Busting through that, ripping through angels, letting you rip through anything else, being a good counter to any magic damage reduction troops. You're going to love them. Now, Kaguya, one of the only mages that has Shrine Maidens, not taking into account any healers. While this does severely hamper her single target damage output, being able to survive assassins like Diehard, Lost Ham, Epsilon, even Cherie. Well, yeah, Cherie doesn't do much except in certain situations, but being able to just sit there with Kaguya, laugh because they kill Shrine Maidens and then deal 1 damage to Kaguya, not literally, and then just healing her up to full, and then she launches out an AoE or just chips people down with single targets. Absolutely awesome. She has a soldier for every situation you can think of. For her equipment, Scepter Divinity is the #1 choice. I strongly recommend finding a way to get this if you want to play Kaguya. Having 5 range for single target means the difference between winning and losing in 99% of games. It's just that simple. Combo with your 1C. Get +3 range from normal. If you don't have it, Red Moon, always a solid choice. 10% extra int. Astaroth, if you want another stun chance, because with single target, she does apply debuffs before the battle. You will gain 15% extra int with Astaroth's ability, but again, I would only pick one of these two if you have 0 Scepter Divinities and you desperately want to play Kaguya. Tenyo Robe, awesome. Everybody should have a bunch of these by now, but 10% HP can dispel a buff when being attacked and apply a debuff. We've seen it happen in playoffs before. Epsilon's attacking, his faction buff gets dispelled, and all of a sudden Epsilon doesn't attack and just the zombies attack, letting the person survive. This is awesome. If you can pull that off, Kaguya's going to be super healthy. You're going to make Epsilon players cry salty tears, and they taste delicious. Now, if you don't have them, you can run Nebulous Robe. If certain people start playing Thorn tanks with Molders or adding Dropnir instead, I don't think they're going to go that route because most people fear Poly, but they might do that, especially with Awakener coming into play. She might single target. She might be a big thorn on everybody's side. See what I did there? Nebulous Robe to reduce damage, along with Fairy Spirit Prophets. You make sure you take 0 reflect damage, so really strong there. But stick to Tenyo's Robe if you can help it. Her unique equipment, Azure Drop Amulet, headgear, 10% HP. You start the map with 2 random cards, Boar, Deer, Butterfly, completely random, and your sleeved card that gives you the +2 range can't be dispelled. This is to prevent Tenyo's Robe from dispelling it like it can Epsilon faction buff. Very rare instance, but it's nice to have to make sure that never happens, because otherwise Kaguya could end up falling short and only the soldiers attacking. And then, even more critical hit chance for every card consumed. Every card consumed, plus 1% up to 10%. So that's nice too. You must play her exclusive equipment. This gets her rolling. That way she's ready turn 2 99% of the time in order to start spamming skills. Absolutely amazing. Do not play her without it. And now, people are going to be like, Meddering, that's an SR equipment. You are correct, and it's the only one of its kind. Meddering gives a little bit of int. It makes you immune to fixed damage. This allows you, as a holy class, to go maidens, so you can survive physical assassins. And even to some degree, like if there's Kaguya out there, with maidens, you can survive her a lot of times just because you have damage reduction from the soldier tech for maidens, and you just live through that. If the Kaguyas are stupid enough to bring faceless, then that helps too. A lot of aggressive assassin Kaguyas love Twilight Stars, so I do not recommend other things like Star Earring, Twilight Star, or Vidar's Rose, because without being able to go into Shrine Maidens with Meddering, you're very open to dying because every single assassin is bringing Twilight Star right now. Everybody has a Meddering. It's an SR equipment. Run a couple Gate of Fates. I think Egbert's drops one the first time you clear it. Get it, love it, enchant it. It's amazing. Now onto her enchantment. Clock. You will only use Clock. This is what you need for her 1C. Keep her abilities up without cooldown. Just that simple. She's a hyper carry. She will constantly hammer the opponents. Nothing more to say about that. Her Heart Bonds. For the Holy class, when melee attack, she takes 10% less physical damage. That'll help her survive a little more. When she's less than 70% HP, she deals 10% more damage. Might not happen too much, but in endgame situations, that can help as well. For Mage, she needs to have debuffs to take less damage. And then when but she does get 10% more damage when battling somebody with debuffs, which means she throws out her 3C, she deals 10% more damage there as well. Fortunately, Meddering won't protect against Twilight Star in the Mage class, so we'll never see that. But some decent Heart Bonds, not game breaking, but really nice. Now, this is what I play currently, subject to change. You need to play Kaguya in Tank Push. She is not a rusher. She needs her cards. She is not very good in PvE either because she needs her cards, and even in PvE, you need to push. Make sure you get that under that turn count to get the feats in most levels. But I like to play her in a box with a lot of people who can help heal. That way she can just constantly tank. Other people just keep her alive. You see in my box, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dedicated healers. Kaguya is an off healer. Mariendel is an off healer. If Kaguya gets a heal buff from her card, she can heal herself. Girl in the Shell gets, if she gets the right random upgrade, she can heal the team. Lucretia, you can run Gift of Life on her. I don't like that. I use Scepter. So you won't get that from her. The tanks are the tanks, and Gintoki's Gintoki. So a lot of self-sustain here. This is what I like, and this keeps her alive and lets me hyper carry with her. I just like pushing to the middle, wearing everybody down, slowly picking off somebody who dares to try to kill me. Take them out one at a time, methodical. Might take me an hour to win the game, but I win. Other units that pair well with Kaguya. Adankomo. The portal she creates, you can overextend a lot more than you normally would. 3C with ultimate throw, kill somebody, weaken them, go back into the portal, and then port back into safety. Go in for an AoE and port back into safety because you can't retreat after that, but they're just out of range, not with portal. And then you go back in. Adankomo is great too because she can follow up with a black hole as well just to keep them down. Really synergistic. Grenshill's faction buff, we went over that before. Grenshill can follow up if you get a lucky mobility down debuff on a tank. She can come in, follow up, snipe somebody off. Not too many people use her AoE because it does require her to get really close, and it's a very small AoE, but this can set up. If you can get her in range already, that can weaken somebody, forcing a heal early to let your other units come in AoE. I just like to use her as a single target to finish people off. And if you're more aggressive, you can play Ironblood Commander, giving +2 movement to Kaguya with 20% increased soldier attack. You're taking down anything. You're one-shotting tanks even with the highest of magic damage reduction. Even if Kaguya is using Shrine Maidens, you can start killing people because the Shrine Maidens will have an attack buff, so they actually deal some damage. 5 range Kaguya is a threat too, because then she has a total of 10 range. And IBC can buff Kaguya as well with mass attack. Really solid, really great. That brings us to the end here. Hope y'all enjoyed. Hopefully you'll be seeing Kaguya carry me to victory in playoffs in a couple weeks. Hopefully you decide to play Kaguya too in the upcoming tank push meta. RighteousFreed out.